All right, Georgia coach Kirby Smart had a lot to say to the media earlier today, talking about Carson Beck, Gunnar Stockton, Notre Dame, the punting situation, and a lot more. I'm going to talk about that and give my thoughts on what he said. Now, of course, it's a lot of it's coach speak, right? Marcus Freeman's great. I respect him a lot. They do this well. They do this well. But I think he accidentally gave us some stuff to talk and write about. But the first and probably the biggest update that he gave was on Carson Beck, and he basically said the only update I have is that they are still going through deliberations in terms of decision making, the process, and the timing of it all. Talking about Carson and his family. Listen, this is Gunnar's team right now. We've said that for weeks, that Gunnar Stockton was going to be the quarterback in the Sugar Bowl. So I'm not sure why there's some surprise out there that Carson is not starting, because he wasn't going to, especially if you've been watching this channel, if you've been following our work. But and now there's noise of Carson staying around college football next year, maybe hitting the transfer portal instead of going into the NFL draft. I think it's clear that his draft stock has fallen this year. And listen, if he can make a couple, 2-3 million, maybe $4 million somewhere else, which may sound crazy, but it's not. That's just what the market is right now in college football for one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And when he's healthy, he absolutely is. But I think those are just scenarios. Wouldn't really call those rumors right now. But either way, Gunnar's the guy right now. And Kirby talked about how, the time off was huge because you're playing a really good team in Notre Dame. So they are very happy that they got that extra time, to get him comfortable and get him practicing and throwing more with the ones. But Kirby Smart he seems fully dialed in and has all the confidence in the world in Gunnar Stockton, and so do his teammates. But going back to Notre Dame, there were a few questions obviously about the Irish and what stands out to Kirby most when he watches that team, and he immediately said their physicality, right? Both lines of scrimmage, really fundamentally sound football team. They've got a great defense. They don't beat themselves. They've got an athletic quarterback, and he knows that it's going to take a really good game from his guys, his group, if they want to come out victorious. But now I will say that their star defensive lineman, Riley something, he's done. He's out for the season, I think, with that knee injury. He came out, I believe, halfway through that Indiana game. But that's a big deal. And they are very strong against the run. And that dude in the middle has been a big-time player for them. I think he's their best NFL draft prospect, at least on defense. I could be wrong there, but missing that guy is a massive blow to the Irish, because it's really, really tough to run on them, especially between the tackles. And without that guy, that makes things a little easier for Gunnar Stockton and that running game, because they have to find a run game. They have to be consistent on the ground if they're going to win this game. And with their best interior defensive lineman out for the game, that is definitely a good sign for Georgia. You hate to see injuries, right? Especially to big-time players in big-time games. But, that will give Georgia an advantage. Small one, but still an advantage. But he did talk about how physical they are, and he talked about their defensive backs, how it's one of the best groups, I think, in my opinion, they'll see all season long. And he talked about them being aggressive. So the receivers have to work on their release. They've got to get off the line of scrimmage and find ways to get open, because it's not going to be easy. But they fight off blocks too in the run game. So if Georgia's trying to get something going on the perimeter, sideline to sideline, those defensive backs that Notre Dame has, they'll fight, and they're going to make it tough to block, and they're going to try to make plays in the backfield. So again, he had a lot to say, and you can read all of this over on Dawg Post. You can watch Kirby talk about it. It's the video prior to this one. So again, if you're on Dawg Post, if you're watching this channel consistently, you're going to be up to date on everything. He was asked about Notre Dame's rushing attack, one of the best in the country, one of the best Georgia will see or have seen all season long. There's no doubt about it. He said they have elite backs. With Riley, he makes things even tougher to defend. They've got multiple weapons, multiple options, and they're committed to it. They're going to run the football. They are not a pass-happy team. They can throw it when they need to here and there, but they don't have a quarterback that's out there slinging it 300 yards a game. They want to beat you on the ground. They want to play bully ball, and it's very similar to Georgia teams that we've seen in the past. Run the football. They've always been able to throw it a little more than Riley Leonard and this Notre Dame offense has. So in ways they are limited. And Love is a little banged up, their star running back. And again, the quarterback can move, but he's not outrunning anyone. He's not as fast as Jalen Milroe, Cade Klubnik, and Haynes King, right? He's not that, but he can be tough to bring down, and he moves well in the pocket. He can escape, and he can make completions when a defender's right in his face, right in his grill. He does find a way to get the ball out safely, and Georgia's going to attack. When they get in the backfield, they've got to wrap up. They've got to bring him down because if you miss a tackle, he can get a little creative out of the pocket and find something, right? But again, he's not a guy that can launch it down the field over and over again and beat you that way. But he's a smart quarterback who does bring some athleticism, and he's safe with the football. I think the interception he threw was on a great defensive play. The ball was tipped up in the air. So at that point, it's anyone's football, right? So, but he's not a guy who's going to be dangerous throwing it as far as trying to fit it into tight windows. That's not him. He's going to try to take off or throw it out of bounds. So he's smart in that way. He was also asked about the craziness going on in college football right now in this part of the year, this calendar, December. At the beginning of the year, they were preparing to play Texas in the SEC championship game. Then the portal opens up and you still have NIL. You're still wrapping up your recruiting class. It is a crazy time for these coaches, and they're not having it. Kirby said it's the new norm. It's tough. It's not unbearable or unfair, but it's probably not the best thing for college football. The calendar is incredibly challenging. And he mentioned that school starts January 6th. And for a lot of these kids on teams in the playoff, you have to bail on your team if you want to, get in the portal and find a home, right? And do what you have to do for your future. So it's crazy that a lot of these kids have to make these decisions now, when in some cases they could be one play away from making a significant impact in a playoff game. So, but to have, recruiting classes coming together at the very end, and you've got the portal opening up, and you're still trying to prepare for a playoff game. You've got Christmas right in the middle of it. It is a wild time, and you could see Kirby was kind of frustrated when having to talk about it because it's the end of the year, right? And the grind is almost over. It's been a long season, and to have all this thrown at them at the very end of it all, it is pretty wild. So again, he didn't say anything that was earth-shattering. He did give that update on Carson, but again, Carson was not going to play in the Sugar Bowl, and we've known that for a while. I guess now that it's confirmed, it's a big deal, but they had to make a decision quick, and you can't game plan and strategize for both quarterbacks. So I think in their mind, they made the decision a while ago, like, hey, we can't do this. Who's going to play, who's not? We got to make a decision, and it's going to be Gunner Stockton, and that's why they're trying to get him as prepared as possible. But they know this is going to be a tough battle, and again, Notre Dame having one of their best players go down is not ideal for them, but they went out and beat Indiana solidly. I don't think Indiana played bad or played poorly. They just weren't nearly as good, right? SMU should not have been there, and they also played bad and peed down their leg. So, they were handing Penn State gift after gift after gift. I'm not sure Indiana did that. Notre Dame kind of punched them in the mouth and took what was theirs, right? So I'm not saying Indiana played bad. I'm sure they played the best that they could. Unfortunately, it wasn't nearly close enough, and a reason they're not a top 12 team. So, but, if you make mistakes, this Notre Dame team is going to make you pay. They are well coached. He had a lot to say about Marcus Freeman. Al Golden's been doing this a long time. That's their defensive coordinator. They wrap up well. They tackle well. They play fast, aggressive. And again, the first thing Kirby Smart said about Notre Dame, he brought up their physicality and how well they are in the trenches. Defensively, they've got a good pass rush, but they're very good at stopping the run as well. And again, they're one of the toughest teams to throw on in the country, really. But they hadn't seen a guy like Carson Beck, and I'm not sure they've seen a guy like Gunner Stockton either. So they haven't seen a team like Georgia. You look up and down the schedule, I do think the Indiana win was impressive. Texas A&M was impressive. The Georgia Tech win, sure, that was impressive too, right? They beat Tech worse than Georgia did, but they haven't played a team this talented, this deep, and a healthy Georgia team. A Georgia team with rest is not a team you want to play. We'll see if Georgia gets after it and if they're ready to go. Or, we'll see if this, 4 or 5 week stretch did not go their way and they come out a little slow and struggle to get it going. They've done that all year, though. But at the end of the day, I do think them having this time off, getting healthy is huge because Notre Dame's a good football team. There's no doubt about it. I still think Georgia's the better team. I still think they're going to win the game, but they're going to have to earn it, no doubt about it. Of course, you can read all about this again over on Dawg Post. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the website.